Valentine's Day is the 16th episode of the second season of The Office. This one's directed by Greg Daniels, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it starts off with Michael revealing that he's going to New York to visit corporate. And I actually hadn't expected them to take us to New York. I had assumed that Michael would be out of the episode and that would be an explanation. So it was quite interesting, actually, to see Michael going to New York and to see the scenes there. And I'll talk more about those when we get there. Dwight then received a Valentine's Day gift, which is a bobblehead of Dwight. I googled it, you can buy it, and I have to say it looks pretty great. And we also had a really interesting camera angle when he received the box. It was on his desk, and we were kind of on the desk, slightly looking up. It was really interesting. I'm probably overthinking it, but I liked it. And then we find out that Kelly had hooked up with Rainn the day before, and it's interesting to know what the expectations would be if you make out with somebody on Friday the 13th. And Kelly's very much into it, Rainn not so much. I didn't mind how that part of the narrative played out. Phyllis then received some flowers, and some more flowers. And at one point she received a giant teddy bear, which was pretty fantastic. And I started to wonder, I don't know if it was this point, I think it was a little later on in the episode, but I started to wonder if this was almost a way of showing off. I've worked in offices. I work from home now, but I have worked in offices before. And I never remember people receiving Valentine's Day gifts, like sent to the office from their partners. And I don't know if that's just an American thing or if it's just a The Office thing, but it seems like it's almost how much can you make other people jealous by your partner sending you things. I don't think that's what Phyllis was doing, to make that clear, but that's kind of what it started to feel like. And I feel like I would be really mortified if somebody sent me something to my place of work for Valentine's Day, because either we live together already or we'd be seeing each other later that day, unless they were, working away or something. So I just find it very strange, but within the context of the episode, I did enjoy it. We're then in New York, and Michael thinks he sees Tina Fey. He doesn't, but as a big Tina Fey fan, I rather enjoyed that moment. Dwight then asks Pam for some advice for what to get Angela. He doesn't mention it's Angela, but Pam offers that she's tightly wound, because of course Pam knows who it is. And the way Pam looked at the camera once Dwight was done talking to her was brilliant. Something I've mentioned before, I don't talk about it that much now, but when I started watching The Office, it was actually my second attempt at watching it, because originally I don't like mockumentary-style sitcoms. But actually, apparently, I'm totally fine with that. It's one of the reasons why I've kept watching Parks and Rec as well. For some reason, I just no longer have a problem with that. And actually, the more I've allowed myself to be comfortable with that, the more I've enjoyed certain aspects that we wouldn't otherwise get. And the moment where Pam looked at the camera once Dwight left the room was just, it was brilliant. It was very brief, couple of seconds, but definitely something that I really liked. We're then back in New York. And I will say, I think the rate at which we cut back and forth between New York and The Office, very well done. It never felt like we were not spending enough time in one place or cutting back too quickly. I thought all of that worked really well. And when we're in New York, Michael is with the guys, and he kind of happens to mention he hooked up once with Jan. And I couldn't wait to see how Jan would react to that. And actually, it didn't take too long. It was just a couple of scenes later. And she found out after we watched the Faces of Scranton video. Jan then found out what Michael had said. And we'll come back to that in a moment with what happens with that. But I certainly thought her reaction was very, very believable. We're then back in the office. And Dwight, Angela unwraps a present that's obviously from Dwight. And it's a key. Presumably the key to his apartment. I was waiting for there to be some kind of ill-thought joke from Dwight, like it was a key to his office drawer or something. Maybe that'll come eventually, or maybe we are just led to assume it's a key to his place. That kind of felt unfinished, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'd love to know if anybody else felt the same, but if we explore that more down the line, I'd be keen to see what happens. Ron then comes up and Pam's obviously unhappy because even though they said no big Valentine's gifts, she'd at least expected him to give her something. Everybody else is getting these flashy gifts, these giant bouquets of flowers, and, well, Phyllis is getting everything. And she didn't get anything. And that's another reason why I think it's a terrible idea to send Valentine's gifts to the place of work, just as a tradition, as that what seems to be the case here, because some people are going to feel insignificant or unloved or neglected because their partner, who's supposed to love them, isn't treating them like that, even though that's part of their love language. Well, it's part of Pam's, clearly not part of Roy's. He tells her that Valentine's Day isn't over and she'll get the best sex of her life. Is that really a suitable Valentine's Day present? I don't think so. And we're then back with Michael, and Michael admits that it was just something he said in front of the guys. It wasn't true. It was just a joke. It was not something he should have said. Seems like they're getting away with it. And then, as Michael is in the elevator, Jan thanks him for taking the heat, and she kisses him. And then she turns around and looks at the camera. Another way that the mockumentary style is actually really effective, and I'm actually really appreciating it, which I wouldn't have done when I first started watching this a long time ago. So, an interesting way to end things. Definitely a decent episode. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and maybe it's another way for Pam to realise that Roy just doesn't treat her the way she deserves to be treated. Really excited and hopeful to see what happens between Pam and Jim, if anything. I'd be really disappointed if nothing ever happened, but we'll see. For now, I'm pleased to say that Valentine's Day was a really good episode of The Office.